call the meeting to order at 5:33. Any adjustments to the agenda?
No.
No. Okay. And we apparently had the opportunity to review the minutes, but did not do so, so we are going to table those until next time, and we'll do that later. Public comment on items not on the agenda. Does anybody, I think you all are here for agenda items, are you not? So probably no public comment. All right. And then select board items. So first would be the Conservation Committee appointments.
Yeah. I'm Ann Carey, as you know, Chair of the Conservation Commission, and in the last month we've been talking to people about filling our 3 vacancies that we have on the Conservation Commission. And we have asked, and Shauna Frank, who's here this evening, have agreed to join us. Shauna has a degree, undergraduate degree in geology. She has been involved in environmental issues throughout her life, really, and has been involved with the tracking program. And we're very glad to welcome her on board. And the second person who is not here, but whom you know, is Catherine Carmen, who has been on the Conservation Commission before, then left, and she is due to retire from Landmark. I'm not exactly sure when, but she felt she would have more time, and she has asked to join us again. And we are very welcoming her back, glad to welcome her back. She's was excellent before, and we expect her to do a good job again. The third person I didn't have a chance to invite, but I saw him today over at the Beatrice Aiken Conservation Site. He has been coming to a couple Conservation Commission meetings. We have asked him as a commission if he wanted to join, and he wanted to think about it. And he told me today that he did want to join. And that's Takashi Akiogi, Ogi, generally known as. He has, as we know, a farming background, which we don't have anyone on the Conservation Commission at this point in time who has that kind of a background. And he has already suggested a project that he's interested in doing, which is why we were at the Beatrice Aiken. And I think he'd be a very wonderful addition also. So the Conservation Commission is recommending all 3 of these people to fill our 3 vacancies that we currently have.
Sorry, to fill the 3.
Three,
Is that what
we
we
have
have? We had 3 vacancies.
Yeah, Hannah Schlansker left, Lonnie Wharton, and Billy Fitzgerald, which all of whom are really good. Hannah really did all of the computer work for the tracking program.
And Hannah is not staying on? Is that right?
No, she is too busy with other things and hasn't been able
Yeah.
to come for quite some time.
Yeah.
We feel bad to lose her. And Lonnie has gone, or is eventually going to go off and do other things. She was instrumental in turtle counts, in setting up meetings. She was a great benefit to us. And Billy has started the Conservation Commission, dropped off for a while, came back, has a chainsaw. We'll miss him. He did a lot of trail work and
Bill Fitzgerald.
Bill Fitzgerald, yeah. Plus he helped us with surveying work when we needed an opinion.
Yeah.
So we miss all of them, and we are glad to have some new people coming on, hopefully. So we're recommending their appointment. Do you want me to go through the names again, or is that?
Shauna Frank.
Shauna Frank. Do you have any questions for Shauna? Or?
You're welcome to comment, Shauna, if you want to, but don't feel like you have to.
No, I'm very honored to be asked to be on the commission and looking forward to participating in it.
Good. And then Ogie, I mean, I think we know, well, I know Ogie's background reasonably, so. Farmer, Japanese background, technique, Asian farming techniques, and okay. Unless anybody else wants to add anything else, I would entertain a motion to accept the 3 nominees.
I move that we accept the 3 nominees to the Conservation Committee, or Commission, sorry.
And I second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to make 3 new appointments to the Conservation Commission, which would be Shauna Frank, Catherine Carmen, and I'm Ogie, but I don't know Ogie's.
Takashi.
Say it again, please.
Takeshi is his real first name.
Takashi?
Takashi.
Takashi?
Takashi, I think.
Takashi?
And then
Okay.
Akeogi, A-K-A-O-G-I.
Thank you.
And he goes by the last syllable of that long name.
Two last syllables, that's right.
Ogi, no. Two, right.
So it's been moved and seconded to appoint 3 new members of the Conservation Commission. If there is no further discussion, all those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Good, thank
Right,
you.
thank you very much.
for
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
presenting people.
Up to speed again.
Good, that's great.
Okay,
Good
thanks.
to have people. Okay. You didn't tell Shauna that it meant she had to stay for all the select board meetings?
Till the very end. Bye,
See
thank
ya.
you.
Thanks. Equity Inclusion Committee resolution discussion. So,
We have a new copy, and so I did take some questions from our last meeting. The only suggestion that I didn't add in, because I wasn't sure how the select board felt about it, and we had said that maybe leaving it open was a good idea, was the suggestion to rephrase human resource practices and decision-making processes under number 2. And I think it's actually quite important that we leave that open. But otherwise, it's very similar to what you've seen in the past with corrections, and it now includes and/or employees of the town as far as who can be appointed. And I took out the terms and put in just 1 year. I think that we should also consider, since our school district has opened up so largely, including employees of the school district.
okay, I don't, so let's see, I guess that, yeah, that would not fall under town employees clearly, so. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't disagree with you, I just hadn't thought about it. But that, you know, the only thing I would say is that's opening, given the size of the district now, that's opening a pretty significant net. And I don't, again, I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, but I think that definitely sort of changes the potential nature of the.
So my reasoning behind that was that it opens a net of folks that are likely going to have a hand in guiding our children and in working with town folks, and they may have an interest in how our town operates because of that. And some of them may have experience that really lends itself to this committee.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, my sort of general feeling about that would be that, of course, anybody in the district and anybody, because it's a meeting, anybody who wants to attend can attend. Is it necessary to include them in a list of people who would be potentially, you know, we could, you know, a slightly more restrictive way of approaching that, and again, I'm not arguing for or against, would be to say, you know, employees of the district who work within the town of Putney, or something like that, so that it's broadening that net to include people who are engaged in this school, but not necessarily the entire district. And I don't.
What about the possibility, though, of middle school and high school? I mean, our kids could end up going to middle school there eventually.
No, I don't know. You got a feeling about that?
I'm not sure. There's a lot of things about this I'm not sure about. I'm not sure about what, how we would be addressing things, or what our authority would be, or any of that. I'm not really well versed in any of this.
Okay.
And so there's a lot more, I have a lot of questions to ask about it. But I think everyone should be treated equally. And I think there ought to be some standard for that. I don't really know how you set that or how we would go about addressing those things. But I think we want to be very careful about how we do. We start having authority, then we also start having responsibility. Do we want that as board? Do we want that responsibility? And if we do, what's the nature of that? And how do we go about doing that? I think it needs to be addressed. I don't have answers to any of those questions. Well, I have questions about those questions.
When is it appropriate for us in the audience to talk?
You can raise your hand and ask to Jamie, would you like to weigh in?
I would love to weigh in on 2 things. One, I was curious about the rewrite, and I missed a meeting where you guys discussed this, so maybe there's a reason. But I noticed at one point it was open to folks to address the first point about the school district recommendation. I can think of a handful of people who do not live in Putney who have expertise to answer David's questions that I think would be real assets to us. You can include those folks in a couple of different ways. One, they could be visitors who come and share their experience. For instance, the town manager in Brattleboro, they've gone through a process of doing some of this work already with the support of consultants. So you could have them be visitors, but you also, I would love to see something that would say something to the effect of up to 2 members of the 9 could be folks with expertise that could help this committee that do not live in the town of Putney. So that you're careful to not have people who are not residents of Putney have ability to a majority vote, but that you do have space, not limited to, but could include up to 2 members who live outside of Putney as a way to include folks with expertises that we might not have in Putney. So, because a number of folks in Dummerston, Brattleboro, I can't think of anyone in Guilford, but would really be awesome to, I don't know that they would agree ever to come and be on a committee in Putney, but maybe we could convince them to come and participate in the education of us about those really critical questions, because it does feel amorphous until it doesn't, because we have colleagues in Vermont and nationally who are doing amazing work, and it's very concrete and tangible, and that will really support us. Yeah.
I don't even know what I don't know.
I know. I love that you said that the last time I was here, and I really think, honestly, that was one of the most exciting things I ever heard. Because it is this work, to be honest, this work is done really well when we admit that to each other. And then we research and educate ourselves, and that's when we can do the real work. So thank you.
Thank you for what you had to say.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed resolution refers to, actually says, creating the Town of Putney an inclusion committee, whereas under the authority granted to it pursuant to 24 VSA Section 872, the Town of Putney Selectboard has authority. Verbatim, 24 VSA Section 872 says, the Select Board shall have the general supervision of the affairs of the town. This, in fact, is the only statement in law as to what the Select Board's responsibilities are. When I emphasized town, the school is not the town. The school is under the jurisdiction of a school board.
Yes.
And I would caution against invading their jurisdiction as a Select Board, because actually you have no legal basis for doing so under 24 VSA Section 872.
My sense is that that's not the intent of the proposed inclusion would be to exert any attempted jurisdiction over the school. It would be rather to include members of the school or to invite members of the school district into sharing the conversation with us, not to extend our jurisdiction over them.
Oh, indeed. Wow. Anything having to do with the issues addressed by this proposed resolution, this draft resolution, that falls within the school, within the purview of the school district, is under the jurisdiction of the school board, by definition. Now, the second point, Referring to the lady who spoke before me, all members will be residents of the town of Putney and/or employees of the town. She suggests two possibilities. One is that people be invited to speak to the committee. The other is that people be invited to join the committee. Consider this. At town meeting, only voters who must be residents of the town of Putney are allowed to speak unless the meeting grants permission.
Yeah.
And I would suggest that her first proposal, that people be invited to speak to the committee, is in fact the one that actually has standing in terms of the way town affairs are conducted in Vermont.
I would tend to agree. I think that if we were to resolve by adopting this to allow including up to a certain number of members on the committee, I'm not sure that's necessary. And I don't, again, I'm not arguing for or against, but I think that if we want to invite guest speakers, or if this committee chooses to invite guest speakers, that's great. And again, it's open meeting, so anybody can be invited, anybody can come, whether they're invited or not, and speak freely, presumably, as long as it's well presided over. You know, to include in there having an allowance for those folks to be on the committee, I guess I'm not sure I feel that's necessary.
So with that logic, I have to question, I'm sorry, but with that logic, last time you suggested employees of the town be included in this. If employees of the town are not citizens of Putney, or not residents of Putney, then by your own logic, they should not be in here.
Actually, by my own logic, they should be, because they are employees of the town. They are under jurisdiction of the town manager and ultimately under jurisdiction of the town of Putney Select Board.
Whereas the school, if you use the same
All right,
logic with the
that's
school,
reasonable.
that's not the case.
Okay. Although the entire school district is owned by the town and paid through our taxes.
It is indeed, however, it is under the jurisdiction of the school board, which Putney folks independently elect, along with in the new system, which I'm not sure I fully understand how many board members are from Putney, but we elect members of our school board. And they have jurisdiction over the Putney Central School, and of course now a number of other schools, alas.
Yes. Jamie, you wanted to add something?
The other concern I had is, I was thinking about some of the folks I would love on this, who I don't know that they're residents of the town, but they work in town. So I was thinking specifically of some of the institutions who are leaders in their own institutions, like Landmark and the Putney School, who might have folks who are working there and have real interest in this in Putney, who might be Brattleboro residents because they can't find housing here, not necessarily because they don't want to be here. So. I know for a lot of folks that's very hard. So I just would say that it would be really nice to make sure that we don't exclude that population, because I thought we were kind of moving in the direction to be inclusive. And I was amazed as I went through the Putney School roster of all the staff, all of the diversity that exists at the Putney School. And I was so excited to imagine. I'm guessing everybody there during the school year lives there.
The vast majority are residents.
So I would also just hate to exclude somebody who had a real, work life here or something.
I hear and respect what you're saying, but again, we're not excluding them because it's open meeting.
Exactly.
So that, anybody who's interested is welcome and, invited and welcome to attend.
And should come,
Being
educated.
Yes. The majority, using the Putney School as an example, the majority of people do live either on campus or in town. That's a generalization, but it's a reasonably accurate generalization, I think. Landmark, I think that might be less true just because their staff is bigger and more sort of wider spread.
Clear that they live here, and I was like, my experience, I agree with you. No one is excluded, but sadly, my experience is there is something magical about one's appointment to a committee that increases one's participation.
Yeah, I would
So,
disagree with
I
that.
just, I only put that as a way humans behave and the audience in attendance at this very moment.
Is this a legal question?
I wondered that also. I think that, I don't think it is in that, I think we can make that choice, but I'm assuming there would be legal implications of making that choice. So it might be worth checking with Larry about that, or the VLCT, and just see, VLCT might have useful input on that as to whether, sort of that's generally recognized as good practice or not. I have no idea. But I don't think it would, I think it's clear that we all want to do this and have it work, et cetera, but I don't think that we need to be in a hurry to do it, other than to keep it moving along. But I think that, if we, in the interest of sort of getting it right, I'm happier to wait, if it takes another 2 weeks or a month, that's probably okay. If, we don't want to let it sit for another 2 years, but, but.
I'm happy to check in with VLCT and see what they have to say and forward that to Karen, and we can go from there.
Yeah.
I will say that the all members being residents of the town of Putney was a part of the boilerplate.
Yes.
So it may be encouraged or
Exactly.
a legal practice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I do agree that it's worth checking into. And if we can open it up, if it's clearly something that we can open up, then.
I think it would be really important to caveat, I don't know how to give it definition. I think you say no more than 2. I think so I would encourage, just because you don't want to get to a majority of folks ever that are, it's the town Putney. The only other thing would be, I don't know if it's too much to define, saying, or an employee of the town, not of the town of Putney, but in the town of Putney. I don't know if there's a way just to show interest. So I think those are just things I was trying to figure out, how you would be inclusive of folks who have a real interest in this.
Yeah.
So, do you want to check all of those things, Laura,
Yeah, I can check into that for sure.
people who are employed in the town of Putney?
When's your next meeting?
2 weeks.
2 weeks from today.
What's the date, do you know?
I don't actually-
It's August 14th.
I won't be here that day, but that's okay.
So August 28th?
But we probably wouldn't be comfortable acting on it without you here.
Right.
So,
August
I
28th.
think there's a lot to talk about too. I would
Right.
like to get more input from
I
other
mean, if
people.
that question is really critical right now, then I would say we should invite the town manager from Brattleboro to the next meeting. The problem is you don't want to do that in the absence of Josh, so if
Right.
it means August 28th, I'm just trying to think of some folks who I know who've already wrestled with this and who've already defined it. I don't know if you have any expertise.
I think bringing Angela Burkfield in, people
Yeah.
that are experts in the field
Yeah.
that can help
There's
educate.
so many very tangible things that
Mhm.
people and groups are doing. I was noticing a great article in the Eagle Times talking about the state of Vermont's new diversity coordinator. Is that an accurate title?
Probably.
I mean, there,
I haven't seen that.
it was a really interesting article in the Eagle Times, because a well-meaning citizen said, we're not racist in Vermont, and we don't need this person in Vermont. And the Eagle Times editor wrote back an amazing piece. And so I will forward it to Laura and have her forward it to you all, because it just came
Forward it
out.
to her, please.
Forward it to Karen, and then if you would forward it to the select board members.
Yeah.
It was very powerful and very well written, and it is happening in this very moment, these conversations at all levels of government, and so it was really powerful.
Mr. Chairman, a question from the floor that I think may be relevant and germane at this point. I would like to inquire whether the lady who has just spoken is in fact a resident of Putney.
Yes.
I'm Jamie, and I have a wonderful home that I have purchased in 2012 on Great Meadows Ridge. So,
And
I
she's
shouldn't have
a-
said that. I don't want the general
and
folks
she-
knowing.
And she's
And
she's a registered voter and also a member of the select board, I mean, of the school board.
I was a
Or
member of
but
the
it's
school
been-
board,
It's
yeah.
been dissolved as
Yeah,
as
yeah.
it was, so.
And Howard, you and I have had lots of fun chatting over the.
Mr. Chairman, I asked the question simply to create the record as this is a public meeting under the Vermont Open Meeting Law.
Yes.
Having done so, it has been proposed that a number of people be brought in to speak about a resolution, a proposed resolution of the Town of Putney Select Board, none of whom actually has any role or in or commitment to the Town of Putney, such as
One of them is a Putney resident, sorry to interrupt.
such as the town manager of the town of Brattleboro. It seems to me that we must not put ourselves we should not put ourselves in a situation where a majority of people sitting here on our side are speaking to the resolution, the proposed resolution, are not in fact people from Putney, because this is a draft resolution of the select board of the town of Putney. So while I'm not necessarily opposing inviting these people, I think I would ask the question, as one would at town meeting, why are these people here and why would we wish to hear from them as opposed to people who are from the town of Putney?
I think it's a valid point. I guess I would also sort of slightly tangential to that, but you know, it might come under sort of the responsibility of Laura, who's raising this as an issue, and not that we aren't all interested in it, but to do some more of that homework and present it to us. I don't know, that's a tough question.
Education,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not sure.
That's how I feel, yeah. I want to know more before I can feel like I can say
experience.
this.
Not all of the experts on this live in Putney, and
Right.
we do often consult people from outside of this town to help guide us on issues within the town. And I think that that's what Jamie was referring to, that the town of Brattleboro has already gone through this. Much of the work that we do comes from other towns. We look at what they've done, we adopt it for ourselves and figure out how it works into Putney. So I don't think bringing the town manager, if he would want to even come here, I don't think bringing him in to answer some questions about how Brattleboro has done this, or done their own version of this, would do any harm to the constituents of Putney. So, I do have information I'm happy to share with you guys that was forwarded to me from the town manager and from Rebecca White, who is currently a state representative, but was a select board member in Hartford that went through some major issues and had to do their own version of this. Happy to make copies of this and share it with the two of you for reading. Oh.
And or it's.
And it's public
obviously a
information,
public record.
yes.
So, yeah, and you know, I'm pondering the fact that much, and you know, I'm not sure how this adds to this discussion, but much of what we're talking about, I think in many ways is more discussion for a committee about this than it is for, you know, I mean, I think my feeling would be that we need to come up with a resolution that we can approve that is solid enough so that we're comfortable approving it, and it obviously is within the bounds of legal, etc., but also vague enough and open interpretation enough so that a committee that's working on this can do the work they need to and then report back. Because honestly, if we try and have sort of endless discussion about this, then why are we forming a committee?
Exactly.
You know, our role is to present a situation in which a committee exists that can do this work and inform the town based on that work. So Jamie's not sure she agrees with that, but
No, I was more pondering the overall conversation, not particularly that point.
yeah.
My facial expression may have reflected that.
You just looked like you weren't sure you were agreeing with what. Go ahead.
So, say we come up with a resolution that we're all comfortable with and is legal and the committee is formed, then what is our role in regards to that committee? So you provide suggestions about a given situation and then we decide how to act upon that.
Yeah. The committee doesn't
So-
make those decisions, we do, at
We-
the end of the day. They
okay.
make recommendations.
Yes. I mean, you know, ideally it's a little bit of a, I'm not disagreeing with you, but ideally it's a back and forth. We would give them a charge per se and say, you know, and you know, the reality is this largely includes the charge. But if we had specific issues or questions that we wanted addressed, we would task them with addressing those questions. The flip side of that is, and I think it's pretty clear that this is sort of the two-way street side of it is, you know, we would hope that their work, for example, with the Conservation Commission, they go out, they do a whole bunch of stuff, and then they come to us and say, you know what, we really need to do some work on the beavers. You know, the same thing would hopefully be true with the committee working on this, is they'd say, you know, it's come to our attention that the town hopefully should address this in a different way, and we'd like you to consider it. So, you know, it's a back and forth, but, you know, we task them, but then they, you know, for all practical purposes, sort of challenge us with things that we should be considering.
And ideally, they are challenging us. That's
Yeah,
kind of the point of it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're challenging us to a certain degree, but they're also challenging the town.
Yes.
I mean, you know,
Yes.
the idea is that, and I think that, you know, this is the kind of thing that potentially could generate, you know, whether they're non-binding resolutions or resolutions at town meeting, but open larger discussions at town meeting. You know, it's great, as Jamie pointed out, you know, it's great for us to have these conversations, but when there's two people in the room from the public, that doesn't do us a whole lot of good. You know, and then it's public outreach, et cetera. But I would think that in fact, an effective committee who was trying to do this work would include somewhat significant public outreach in the effort of being inclusive, and what that looked like and how it would go forward would be a task of the committee, at least in the short run.
I agree.
But I think also, you know, to your question, it's important with committees that are under the purview of the select board that they are not going outside of the structure that exists and trying to promote things that we don't agree with or at least have not been informed about, you know, and those will open discussions. Maybe we don't all agree, but if we say, you know, no, this is not somewhere we as a select board want to go, then, you know, we can be clear about that. So.
And if it was to change anything legally, that would be something that the town voters would vote on. So it wouldn't really be our authority over anything, we would just help guide it. Is that true? Or how much authority
we might have.
How responsible would we be?
It would depend on the topics that came up and how, you know, I think that could be across the board. And you know, I mean, there have often been times when we've had things that, you know, are happy, the beavers, you know, we're happy to decide that we were willing to spend $500 to do that work. If they were to come to us and say, you know what, we need an entire new wetlands and it's going to cost $500,000, then we say, that's fine, but this is a town meeting issue.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. That's the question I wanted to answer, because it seems like it's going to be a far more complicated issue than beavers.
I agree. No, obviously, totally oversimplified.
And I don't really understand the process here well enough to be able to make any kind of judgment about this yet.
But you know, that's a useful example of sort of the back and forth.
It was an excellent example.
Yeah.
I was just pointing out another part of it. Thank you.
I think to your point, David, I have done work similar to this, not in the context of the town for a number of years, and the way that I see it, it works best, particularly with decision makers, is that you lay out some general concepts that you're going to explore together. And then if you're going to be asked to make a decision about something, that you're invited as a select person to come and participate in that educational meeting or whatever happens. So that there's a chance down the road, and that you could come to that, or we could come to you, or however it works, just so that there isn't what could happen, which is a huge gap in the knowledge of the committee and the select board. And so you would want to make sure you're really conscious about doing a process that's really inclusive, and before decisions were being made, that you would get to have the background and the backstory. And, yeah.
And I think ultimately, ultimately the a highly functioning committee would actually probably be dealing with a lot of this stuff and the public in a way where it would probably make our jobs easier, not harder. But I would want to know what was happening and be able to understand it, and I don't yet. And so education needs to happen before anything gets decided about. That's the way it feels to me.
And clearly, you know, there would be the potential for an educational component within this committee. You know, this committee, although their meetings are open by open meeting law, if they were, for example, wanting to have a forum on, you know, the inequities of current immigration policy, that's probably something they would want to vet through the select board and say, is it all right if we say this is going to be an open town forum kind of thing? You know, the legalities of that are probably a little tricky, but you know, I think that the expectation would be that the committee would be looking for the support of the select board in any significant outreach they were doing, you know, and not going out and doing that. You know, I mean, it's a reasonable balance. I mean, obviously, we're not looking to micromanage everything that a committee is doing, but at the same time, we don't want them going out and saying, this is what the town thinks, when we haven't agreed that this is what the town, thinks. So a balance there, definitely. It's also not uncommon, and I don't know whether this is your intention, Laura, but it's not uncommon for one of the select board members to sit on a committee that's as, you know, potentially educational and you know, complicated as a committee like this could be, so that there's sort of a regular connection between select. I mean, that's been true on public safety, sidewalks, you know, a lot of different ones. Almost all of them have at least one select board member sitting on them. So
I would definitely be interested in sitting on it for the first year at least. Make sure that it gets legs.
All right, so you've got some more homework to do, and I think that otherwise,
Take 6.
you know, better to do it a little bit slower now and get it right than get in and go, ooh, what were we thinking?
Yeah, and we'll definitely, I will make sure that this information is forwarded to you through Karen. And I also suggest that, you know, you asked a great question, David, about not understanding all of this. Kaya Morris, who was a representative for the state of Vermont, or for her area of Vermont, did a really great TEDx talk on inclusion, and I can forward that to you, maybe to forward to
I'd love that.
board members. It's an 11-minute, super short, but it's really excellent. I highly recommend it. So,
I haven't seen that, that's great.
okay.
Mr. Fairman.
Mr. Chairman, listening to this discussion, it seems to me that there's an item that needs to be brought out, and that is, it could be useful if perhaps Ms. Chapman organized a public forum in the town of Putney about this proposal. Because having been here at these select board meetings on the subject, not very many people who live in Putney have weighed in at this point. And perhaps with some, especially with some esteemed speakers there, quite possibly quite a few people would come out, and this would, effort would move forward in a way that would be more broadly based.
Oh, that's a great suggestion. not sure that I have the bandwidth right now to do a public forum at this moment, but maybe that's something Jamie would be interested in helping with, or you would be interested in helping with. I'm
Well,
happy to.
the other thing, again, I might sort of stepping back a few minutes in the conversation, I wouldn't disagree that that's certainly a possibility, but I think that to me, that would more fall under the purview of a committee that was working on this than it would under the discussion about creating the committee. I think that it's a chicken and egg question, and I don't think there's a right answer to it. You know, I was thinking, I've been thinking as this discussion is going on, the reality is that as soon as a committee was formed, I think a public forum for them to do outreach to explore the issues that they should be exploring would be really important. So again, whether we do that in an effort to create a committee to do that, or whether we create a committee and allow them to do that per se, I'm not sure. So that might be another question.
Okay.
I think, you know, we could spend a lot of time doing public outreach and for all practical purposes doing the work of a committee that I'm not sure, I don't think it's inappropriate for us to be doing, but I'm not sure it's necessarily, again, appropriate might not be the right term, but that it's necessary for us to be doing. So, Jamie.
I love the idea, it's Howard, right? I love the idea that Howard suggested, and I think community forums around these things are really important. One of the things that was amazing to me was a number of us were concerned about the special budget vote that came up for the newly formed school district, having people participate and attend on June 25th. And wouldn't you know it, a proposal came up to support diversity funding for the entire school district. And wouldn't you know it, it was the thing that inspired and ignited people in all 4 towns to come out. And young people were there, old people were there. It was just really powerful to see how that particular topic brought people together in a positive way. And a number of us were from Putney. And so in my experience, people are just desperate, you know, it's the summer. I've been a community organizer a long time. You pretty much don't get anyone to come to anything in the summer. But come middle of September,
Yes.
you might start being able to get folks to come out to things.
Yeah.
And so I just think that this, you know, I can think of 6 people off the top of my head in our town who are very passionate about this work statewide, nationally. So I just am excited about what that means for us. And so anyways, I think a public forum is a great idea.
I agree. I'm just,
I agree with you that it can be the work of the committee.
that would be
Yeah.
my instinct, because otherwise.
Unless you wanted to organize it, Josh, because I would totally support that too.
Much as I would love to, and I'd love to be involved, and this is a very important topic to me. I also, you may or may not know, am the chair of the board of the Putney School. It's a topic that we work hard on at Putney School. I've been on a state board that deals with affordable housing and issues with equity and inclusion, et cetera. So, you know, it's near and dear to me, but it's, I'm happy to come to a forum, but I do not have the capacity to organize.
Bandwidth too.
Yeah. So,
I will say, I just reached out to your new, I don't know her title, diversity coordinator, who just came on like last week or 2 weeks ago, Lisa.
yeah,
And so she and I are going to chat on Friday, and I'm looking forward to the expertise that some of our institutions in Putney have.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, and as you said, there's a lot of expertise in that area at Putney School beyond, I mean, you know, bringing her in
Right.
is a sort of a step in a different, not in a different direction, but a further step forward.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who have been doing a lot of
Yeah,
work
and
on
it
it
was
for a long time.
I was excited looking at all your
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it's a good group. All right,
Table it?
table it, is that all right?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, good, so we're
We're
gonna
gonna get it
table that
done.
discussion and we'll keep moving forward.
Excellent.
And thank you both for attending and for your input.
Yes,
And-
thank you so much. Thank you, Howard. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, both of you. Thank you. Really.
All right, property tax billing status. I am aware that I got my property tax bill. I don't know whether I am alone. I'm guessing not.
No, you were not.
I
The
didn't
only
get
one who
mine.
said that.
It's probably in your box today.
I emptied my box on my way here, I don't have it. So I was hoping that maybe this year I
Maybe
didn't have to.
maybe they're waiting to make a special one for you.
This isn't the year I could just pass on that?
No. So they are out. They will be due August 30th for the first installment.
Yeah.
So,
And then just of note, and I think, this is on the information, but it's just the first payment that's delayed till the end of the month. The other payments will be at their regularly,
third Friday
regular
of the month,
in November and February. Yeah.
yes.
So,
Yep.
anything else you want to add to that, Karen, or not? Just so we're clear, the education tax rate for residential is 1.71 something, is that correct?
Yep, so the homestead educational rate is 1.7126, and the non-residential rate is 1.5988. And it's right here on the sheet, Josh.
Yeah.
So this is the grand list and tax rate history. So what I did below, you have the town tax, you have the school tax for homestead and non-residential. So the increases are that bottom line. So there's a total of 13-cent increase overall per 100.
So on a $100,000 home, please do that math for me. My decimal points are getting all screwy.
I don't
Is that a
have
$13 difference?
Correct. Yeah,
Right.
sorry, I think so. What did,
13 cents
On a
per
$100.
100. Per 100.
yeah, so
Yeah.
$13
So it'll be a $13 per $100,000 value of your home.
increase.
Increase.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
So,
All right, $130 per.
I think it's more than
Yeah,
that.
that
No, it
doesn't
must be
sound right.
130, sorry, yeah,
So you're saying total, that doesn't include, that's including school, but
per
not.
100, so 13 cents
Correct.
times 1,000.
Correct.
So did I see a 5-cent increase for school?
Did you see what, Jane?
5-cent increase?
Roughly, yeah, for homestead, yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yes.
$130.
Yeah, it's 130.
$130, sorry, yeah. I was just
It's okay,
hoping
it
it
took
was,
a minute. I
I was
finally got through it.
hoping it was.
It's Mrs. Faulkner's second grade math
Yeah,
class, doing it in my head.
So the
Per
total,
100,000.
Per 100,000,
Right.
yes.
the total to be raised for the school, whether non-residential or homestead educational, I'm rounding up, okay, so it's 3.9 million, okay? The school budget at town meeting was voted on at like 3.4.
Yeah.
So your increase is about
Largely,
500,000 from the school.
yeah. Yeah, and that presumably reflects largely
The
the
consolidation.
process of consolidation.
Yes.
Exactly, which,
We were
yes.
told it had to do with the term I always forget, the ICLA or that.
Yes,
That it had to do with
CLA,
the CLA. So now that we're in a larger district,
the CLA change.
the CLA impacts the number.
Up for the school.
That's how we were explained the difference in the cost, because the increase supposedly wasn't that dramatic, and so you saw the difference between the 3.4 and the 3.9, or however we say it in shorthand, but that it was supposed to be around the CLA.
That's interesting, because, our CLA wouldn't change. I mean, each of the towns still has the same, their individual CLAs would not change, so they must average the CLAs of all of the towns in order
Right.
to achieve that, because it's a district-wide thing. But that's not a town, I hadn't thought about it that way, that's different.
Yeah.
different way of looking at it, and I'm not sure I understand it well enough to really understand that. But
I don't
CLA means common level of appraisal, which is basically the
Assess.
the percentage of what our actual values of land in town are versus our appraised values. So it's based on sales values, and it's a number that the state comes up with. So if everything, if we have a grand list of 2,406,000 or
That's it.
$240
Yeah.
million,
That's it, yeah.
then if everything that sells in Putney sells for exactly what it's listed for, then we would have a CLA of, I believe it's, is it 1 or 100? Of 100.
It's 100, yes. Yep.
But if
So that's the base.
everything,
So as it changes above or below the
it's a
projection,
percentage. Exactly. So it's based on sales versus what our grand list. So essentially, it's a way to look at whether the sales that are occurring in town accurately reflect
How we're
the
assessing that.
assessments. Exactly.
So, and because ours is 3.9 or 3.5, it's saying things are actually selling for more than they're assessed for or less than they're assessed for.
Ours
I'm
is,
sure
ours,
they're selling for less than they're assessed for.
Because that's the
Right.
increase in the rate to make up for the difference. Is that the idea?
That's what someone
I haven't
said.
seen the I'm not sure what what is our
It's
CLA?
99.7.
So that 99.7 means that we're
Yeah.
pretty darn close.
Right.
But that they are, if the CLA is 99.7, it means that the value of the homes, yes, the value of the homes slightly deflate, slightly less.
Then our projection.
Exactly.
So our
Right.
projection is slightly inflated.
Exactly. And if it goes off by more than 10%, that triggers, we're required to do a reassessment.
Right.
Okay, and that's what
So-
happened.
Exactly. So we got down to a CLA of 0.89, and that triggered the need to
Got
do
it.
that 2014
Thank you for just
reassessment.
Yeah.
And it's confusing, but there's a general.
No, that was
Might or might
good.
not be
No,
accurate.
that, you were, yeah,
Pretty
pretty
close.
well, you're,
Very
yeah,
good. Thank you
right
for that,
on.
Josh.
Yeah.
So, good
So is
job.
that accurate, $13 increase per $100,000 value?
Does that reflect that? No, it's $130 per
It was
100.
130.
Yeah, sorry, I was
Okay,
off by a
like, it
decimal
didn't
point.
seem right. I was like,
Yeah.
So, yeah, so tax bills are out and
Okay, so next, tax sale.
tax sale is set for August 27th, which is a Tuesday, at Town Hall at 10 a.m. Larry Slison's office will be conducting the tax sale. We have 11 properties on the list at the moment. The first publication will be tomorrow in the Brattleboro Reformer, and then a week later, the second, and then a week after that will be the third.
Let's see, the 27th, so do we have another meeting before then, other than the 14th?
28th, the 28th is our
Okay,
next meeting.
because we need to, either one of us or a representative for us needs to be present at that tax sale.
I'm gonna be there.
Okay, and we need to, thanks.
And maybe.
Well, we can also approve Karen to do it, but, and we need to have a discussion, and Larry will probably be the one to advise us on this, as to whether there are any properties we're gonna bid on if they don't go for what they should go for.
Okay,
Because we can make the decision to purchase properties at tax sale if they don't rise to what we think they need to. And I don't remember, it's been a long time since I've done that.
here, I'm gonna give you the
Exactly
list,
how that
because
works,
you'll
but-
know. I don't believe there's interest in some of those properties already. And as a delinquent tax collector, I would be at that tax sale,
Yeah.
I'm interested in being at it just because I never have,
yeah.
so I
Um,
think
I
it'd
need
be
to
a great
learn about this
learning
too.
opportunity.
It might be worth seeing if you could have Larry here at your meeting on the 14th so that you could have a discussion about that.
Okay.
And whether that would be in open meeting or executive session, I'm not 100% sure, because it would be based on possible purchase of property. So real estate can be, contract and real estate can be
Right.
excluded. And
Right.
I don't know, that would be a
Right.
question for Larry. But, and a question would be for Larry whether we should be considering a price. I really don't remember the details of how this works, but I know that historically we're there and we have talked about whether there are properties we will choose not to sell at the price that they're bid or something along those lines. I really
Okay.
don't remember how it works, so that's something we should know before we go into that. Jordy might know,
Right.
but I'm not sure he would. Jordy might also plan on being.
So I do
Pleasant.
know that all of these people have been notified. So they do have up till 10 a.m. on August 27th.
Yes, and
to
commonly, a number
A lot
of these
will,
will come off
yes.
this list before the day actually happens.
But, I mean, it's $69,000.
In taxes, which, and I don't know whether you guys know how this works, but when a property sells to an outside buyer at tax sale, what happens is that that person pays for that property and then receives in return 1% per month interest on the money that they have invested on that, which is the responsibility. The person whose property was sold has a year to redeem,
Yeah.
but they pay a 1% per month premium in order to redeem up to 12% for the full year
To the person that purchased it.
to the person that purchased it. So it's a darn good investment
Yeah,
for
it's a
those
great-
who can do that. But, you know, it's also a little bit of a gamble. You know, essentially it's what somebody's deciding is whether they're gonna make at least 12% by either hanging on to it and collecting that 1% if they think the person's gonna redeem, or make that 12% by selling it at the end of the year,
Right.
or they have a different interest in it. But that's how it works, is that they have a year to redeem, so. So,
Is this a typical list? Every year is there about that many, or does it really?
it's a little longer, it's a little bigger than usual, but not a lot. At this stage, again, this will change in the next month.
It will. It
Yeah,
was longer.
yeah.
So I took all the mobile homes off because they're just not worth going to tax sale. There's repeat
And the mobile
properties
homes, the
here.
reason the mobile homes typically are not worth going to tax sale, because typically it's just the mobile home itself, it's not necessarily the lot that it's on.
Right.
with it.
Rented
Yeah.
lot.
So they have
So we can
little,
work
if
with
any,
those
value
people?
to us or to anybody else.
We just
So,
work with them because their taxes are low,
Yeah,
although they're on budgets,
right.
you know, so we just work with them to get them paid.
Do we need a motion to approve Karen to represent us at this, or?
I'm the delinquent tax collector.
I think you should have that discussion with Larry
Yeah.
and see what he recommends.
Okay,
Historically, my recollection is it's usually been a select board member, but I don't know that there's any reason for that.
Okay.
Also, I would say as to that number of how many are here, I would say we probably average ballpark 3 to 6 properties at any given tax sale.
There's 10 there.
Right, but it's, again, a month in advance, it's not
Right.
surprising to have double what we will have, because, you know, there's, I mean, you know, several of those will be paid, I'm sure,
yeah.
but, or, almost. But,
Several of them just reflect people doing business in a different way, waiting till the last minute and paying their taxes.
And some absolutely have to wait till the last minute, and then, you know, they say, uh-oh.
So all these people are 2 years in arrears already,
Right.
and the new tax bill just went out, so. And the policy is 2 years.
And those numbers, for the total, that 69,000, that's the total, but that's
just on
reflective of,
taxes.
right, but that's reflective of the total owed for that 2-year period. it's not only the taxes that are 2 years in arrears, it's all the taxes that are in arrears.
Yes,
To date.
all.
Well, that's a
Correct.
considerably
Yeah.
smaller number than you showed us
Yeah.
several meetings ago.
Yes.
Some of them are 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Well, but that, David, also does not include all the people that are
That's
only a
just-
year.
right,
Exactly.
got it.
So you got, I mean, what's our total uncollected taxes right now?
It was like 169,000.
So that's closer to nothing.
Right, exactly.
But that also reflects that we've collected, I mean, we were at 230th, so we're 230-ish.
Yeah.
So we've
remember? Yeah.
collected 70
Yes.
cents, something like
Yeah,
that. So
it's, keeps coming in.
it's a process.
What do you want?
Yeah.
Because it
We like to
keeps,
see
because it
that.
keeps going out.
I know, yeah, as you will know tonight.
Can't wait till you see it.
Okay, so you guys you'll check in with Larry
I
about
will.
that
I
and
will.
see what he recommends and see whether you should have him here at the meeting on the 14th so you guys can make
We're gonna
decisions.
see Larry either tomorrow or
Oh,
Friday.
okay, so we'll talk to him.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Gravel pit closing date was scheduled for tomorrow, but there was a glitch in Dummerston with getting the money transferred apparently, so we are putting that off, we think, until Friday, but until
Friday morning, perhaps,
until
10:30.
we need to.
Yep.
So, and that includes, you know, the nature of that meeting is that we have received the money from the bond bank.
The interest rate is 2.91%.
Which is excellent news.
Yeah.
We were anticipating more like 3.8 probably,
Yeah.
and
Started it at 4.2.
in the
something.
vote,
Yeah.
we approved up to 4.25%
Yeah,
on that.
yes,
But
yeah.
we were thinking it was gonna be, it had been, I think last year's rate was like 3.84 or something, so.
Yeah, it was,
So this is significantly better.
yes, much
Which
better.
is great. That's over 30 years, that saves a chunk of money. But we currently have a check for just under $1 million waiting to go to Renault. So, all right. Putney Public Library roof is apparently leaking.
So I got a phone call from Emily, and she stated the roof is leaking around the skylight and the flashing.
Okay.
So she's like, what should we do? I'm like, well, it's in the memo of understanding that at some point we're gonna look at replacing the roof. I asked her to get a estimate
Yeah.
on what it would cost to repair it
Yeah.
for now.
Yeah.
We do have $30,000 in the roof
Yeah. I mean,
reserve,
yeah.
but I haven't seen the estimate yet.
You know, a repair like that is usually on the order of, you know, handful, no, shouldn't be anywhere
Less.
near that.
Yeah,
If it's just a skylight, it should be, you know, somewhere between several hundred and, you know, maybe a couple thousand, worst case scenario, but I wouldn't think so. But, you know, that roof is only whatever it is, isn't that 12, I guess it's about 12 years old.
Is it-
Maybe it's
She thought
15.
maybe
Asphalt
15.
It's asphalt, but it's architectural, we should get a solid 25 years out of it.
Yeah, it seems like it hasn't been
Is
up
it
there that long.
warranted?
It is, but this would be a workmanship
Yeah.
detail, not a,
Not a roof.
not a,
It's not leaking because the shingles aren't quality, it's
Yeah.
leaking because it
Right.
wasn't flashed and cocked as
Yes.
well as it
Would
is.
the original
And honestly,
installer?
and we don't know, nobody's gonna back it up after 15 years. And
Okay.
with the installer, with the person we've already been through that with the roof on the fire department, because that was done improperly.
And we think it's the same person that did the library.
It is.
Okay.
So we will not,
No.
nobody's gonna stand behind that.
Okay.
And it's not worth our pursuing it.
Okay.
So we just get it fixed and that's what it is. But skylights leak all the time.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's a good possibility that it's a very simple fix,
Yeah.
a piece or two of failed flashing and, you know, I mean, it easily could be a very small fix, but
Yeah.
but
I just
we don't
wanted
want to
to
ignore it.
let you know what was happening.
Yep.
And I will give you more
Conversation today about
information.
The reason we didn't do metal roofing to begin with, so they don't have to deal with this again, is the cost of doing it. It was so much cheaper to do shingles.
Asphalt's by far the cheapest. It's also, you know, there's definite advantages to it, particularly in a public building like that, because it doesn't slide.
Gotcha. That makes perfect
You
sense. I
know,
didn't think of that.
maintenance for that, if
Yeah.
it was a metal roof, would be complicated.
I've also heard from firefighters that they really despise metal roofs.
They're hard.
Yeah.
There's tricky things about them. It would be worth, while we have somebody there looking at that skylight, to just give us a ballpark on how long we think that roof is gonna last us.
Yeah.
I would think we'd have a solid 10 years left in it, but, you know, somebody who does it all the time would be able to tell us a little.
Okay.
So while somebody's up there climbing around, just have them look around. And if you need names, I can,
I already have two that I gave Emily,
okay, sounds good.
so.
You know, Travis Slade has done the vast majority. He
He
did the
was
fire
one.
station, he did the central school,
And Stetson and
Remember.
Sons.
Stetson, he's done work for us for the town.
And he was the one that redid the fire station.
No,
Travis
Travis did.
Slade.
He did the original
No,
that needed
no.
to be replaced.
No, that was done by Guyette and Sons out of.
Okay. That, I was just making sure it wasn't the original.
No, no.
Okay.
No, and Travis, you
I
know,
heard
to,
that, yeah.
to his credit, Travis has been very generous, both on the fire station
And the school.
and on the school.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, he's exceptionally busy.
Right.
But, you know, it's certainly, he has been sort of the roofer of record for us for a while, because he's been very reasonable and generous with the town.
Yeah, I know.
It does amazing.
Great job.
And he
on the
does,
school.
yeah,
It just
great
does
job.
amazing work.
Yeah. But that having been said, Rick Stetson has also been very generous to the town. The last project I can remember he did, which was not specifically for the town, but town oriented, was he did a great job at a very reasonable price on Pierce's Hall. And that, so Rick would be a great person to also ask about it. So.
Yeah.
All right, public library roof, sidewalk project status.
So the status on the sidewalk is for the next 2 weeks, they'll be filling in the slope. I have not been up there this week, I'll go up towards the end of the week. I have a meeting too on Friday morning, 9 a.m. with Pathways Consulting and Steve Zaluzny.
When did you say, Friday morning?
Friday morning at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
We try to do weekly meetings
Yeah,
to see where the project's at.
yeah,
So far it's
moving.
moving along, and you know, the box culvert's in, it's filled in. We're still waiting on the light poles
Yeah.
and the electrical panel put on River Road. So I'll have more of an update on Friday, but that is moving along.
It's looking good.
I know, it's
Yeah.
changing.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
That is, does
Yeah.
Yeah.
hauled a lot across Rock and then.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's
It's
a big
a
hole.
lot.
That's a big hole.
I looked at the first day, I thought, why is the walkway not down there?
Yeah.
I thought,
Right.
all that filling. And I looked at it and said, oh, why? And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's not-
Because the
Yeah.
state
It is
encouraged
a
us
big
to
hole.
do that.
Yeah.
950 cubic yards of material they're gonna put on that slope.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of truckloads.
Yes.
All right, historical society status.
So I spoke with Carolyn Handy, and she was gonna go to their board to make sure that their focus and their interest is still occupying the second floor. So they're excited about it, and I let her know too that we would have to have a lease agreement
Yeah.
because it's a public building. So she hasn't gotten back to me yet, but it's looking favorable. So I'm just
And you also said that somebody had reached out to Chip to discuss.
I reached out to Chip Greenberg regarding the feasibility study because he had done it originally in 2005. So he did give me an estimate, but I haven't read through it thoroughly to know. Just a thought here. So his comment is, his fee is based off of the construction costs, usually.
Yeah.
So whatever that is, it's a percentage.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So if it's $1 million, then it's $100,000 that he ends
percentage
up.
is.
So, I want to research that a little more,
Yeah,
because all we're doing is updating
right.
the
It's
numbers.
not like we're doing the whole study, and
Right.
probably he would end up
Mhm.
updating the whole study.
Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I'm working on that. And I will reach out to VLCT about the lease agreement.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
I think maybe we have one in hand, we review it,
Yeah.
and then we can go to the Historical Society.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sounds good.
All right.
Town manager's report.
It's fairly long, so I'm gonna just run through this, okay? Highway Department, Westminster Road, Brian did replace 4 culverts already.
Thank you, Howard. Yeah.
Thank you.
He has possibly one more to do. He's ditched the entire 3 miles. So there's no date for the paving, but he's planning on September.
Okay.
Mowing has been done in most of the town with 1 pass.
Mhm.
Some places, he's mowed it back even further.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to apologize to the Wetlands Committee because someone requested that they don't mow down by the wetlands
Oh.
because of the milkweeds and the
Oh.
butterflies. And I didn't have it in writing, I forgot about it, and I didn't pass it on to Brian. So I do want to apologize to the Wetlands Committee.
Because it got mowed down there.
It did, today,
No.
today. So,
But
but it was
just sort of a
crawling.
single pass.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
crawling into the road, so it was needed, but I did recommend in the spring, if there's anything down there that you don't want touched, give it to me in writing. 'Cause
Yeah, and maybe
I think it's
flag
good
it somehow or
policy.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, and I mean, with something like that, it can be mowed, it's just gotta be done, you
right.
know, it's gotta be done after September 15th or something.
Right.
For butterfly
So,
breeding, so.
I'll take
The
responsibility for
state
that.
will probably have recommendations on timing for something
Yeah.
like that.
South Pine Banks Road and Turner Trail, we've been having some issues for a couple weeks now. There's one resident up there, Turner Trail is draining onto South Pine Banks in front of the mailboxes. And tenants on Turner Trail have been notified by the post office that they're not gonna have the mail delivered because of the cutout is like, needs to be fixed so they can drive up to the mailboxes. But the funny thing was that 2 of the 4 residents were getting mail and the other 2 were not. So I didn't quite understand that. So the resident on Pine Banks Road, South Pine Banks Road, his driveway's been getting washed out. So he's got some sort of, gully. Yeah. So Brian was gonna be out there today.
Mhm.
I didn't have time to follow up with him, so I'm hoping
He was.
313 South Pine Banks Road, it's been resolved.
So
You're
they were
hoping.
communicating,
It's
I'm
at least been looked at.
I'm hoping.
they were communicating with me and said that he was out there.
Good,
And
good. I
they're
know,
very happy about that.
so the backhoe had a flat tire, so we had to get a tire for that. He was told not to run the backhoe with the way the tire condition was. The grader has 4 new tires. That was another issue.
I'm sure those were cheap.
It's
They are
going
what
on,
they are.
it's going on last year's budget,
Yeah.
so that's,
That's slowed things
The
down
other
though.
place that somebody brought to my attention, and I know we don't have to,
you can.
Frost Place, there's run out and ice that occurs on Kimball Hill, and I think it also potentially is a mail issue, but I think,
I think he's aware of that spot.
I think Frost Place is private, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know.
so.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
But it was brought to my attention particularly that maybe we could address it before winter
Mhm.
because it cheats ice out onto
Right.
Kimball Hill, so.
and it does onto the sidewalk too from there. So
Exactly, so,
I know Brian's aware of it, but I will note that for
Sounds
him, okay? Houghton Brook Road, as you know, has been done. I submitted the reimbursement to the state So the total project cost was $111,302.80. So our reimbursement from the state is 80%, which is $89,042.24. The town's portion, $22,260.56.
Which was mostly done in kind or not?
No,
No?
Brian didn't do any work on that culvert.
Oh, sorry.
A.S. Clark did it all.
Oh, okay.
So we had a grant of $175,000.
Yeah,
So, and it came in at 111.
yeah.
Wow.
So that's a really good job.
Yep.
We did get an award
But
for.
we still only get the 80,000, we
Right.
still only get the 80%
Yeah,
reimbursement,
we only
even
get
if
the
it's
89,
significantly
but,
less than the
I
grant.
mean,
But
Yeah.
it lowers our.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
no,
Yeah.
I'm just being clear that we don't,
Mhm.
that grant, just because we had the possibility of getting 170.
Right, we don't get cash back.
Unfortunately, we don't get 80% of 175. Why not?
Well, this just
Yeah.
shows though, it shows how efficient some contractors can be.
Absolutely,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
Archie's,
Yeah,
yeah.
and no extra work authorizations or nothing. So it's like,
Straightforward bids and.
yeah. It was, this is another good job he's done.
Nice.
We were awarded a municipal planning grant, which is the grants in aid, $20,130. So I'll talk to Brian and see what's on his wish list for that money. Fire department, the dry hydrant was put in at Santa's Land with a grant. I think
Good.
that was about $4,000.
What is a dry hydrant?
It's a,
Go ahead.
it's a pipe, you see them at a culvert, at a Putney School, it's the big pipe that sort of goes down on a diagonal towards a body of water.
Okay.
Basically, it's a pipe that sits in the bottom of a pond per se,
Yeah.
and if they need water,
They can use a pump to.
exactly,
Yeah.
they attach a pump truck to it and then pull it out. And you'll see them occasionally working on them, and they're doing what's called back flushing them, which is where they blow water, pump water into them in order to clean debris, et cetera,
Okay.
out of them. But there's a bunch of them all over town.
Yeah, all right, that's good to know.
And Tom tries to do one a year.
Okay.
Add another one.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah, we added one last year up on West Hill Road.
Is that something that, like, it helps with your property insurance if there's one?
Within a
Yeah,
certain number of
right.
distance from you, yes.
Yeah.
they're pre-sealed and primed too, right? They pump the water up the top and there's a vacuum seal right at the top. So when they hitch on, they break the seal and there's water already there, which means they don't have to prime it up half from the brook. And we've seen them do that.
And it also, it prevents the priming, it also tends to prevent that silting in.
The silting in, right. It's cool, it's a good system.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have not received notification on the federal grant for the equipment, the 182,000, for the air breathing equipment that Tom requested. Which is good news because,
That means it's being considered anyway.
yes.
Yeah. We weren't eliminated in the early rounds.
No. Annual physicals for the on-call department is scheduled for September. And then we did get a correspondence from Landmark College regarding cooling stations in the hot heat. They were inquiring whether, if there's any places in town where senior citizens can go out of this heat. So Tom is going to reach out to Landmark College and try to coordinate that and see what.
Okay, I was confused when you first said, but now I understand what you're
Yes.
talking about. Okay.
Because it almost sounds like that the college is willing to support
I would think
the
so. 'cause
Putney
they-
residents
Yeah.
in this hot heat.
So, I mean, the public library could be considered a cooling station.
As
That
could
was
the,
another-
as could the fire station.
As
Yeah.
the fire station, maybe,
But maybe the gym up at
Putney
Landmark or,
community, any of the schools,
yeah, their library
Right.
or
But not
a
all of
common
those have-
space.
But not all of those have AC,
Yeah.
No.
so, I mean, the library does,
Yeah.
because it's mini splits, and now the fire department does, because it's mini, well,
Right.
they used to have an AC, but
Yep.
with
They can
mini
come
splits, it's.
sit in the tax office.
Is this an argument to put an AC in here? Is that-
With the renovation, yeah.
That's actually lovely. I hope that works out.
So I think it's great that Landmark reached out to us
Mhm.
in that capacity. And
So they did reach out and offer to possibly do that.
Yeah, to talk about other cooling centers, you know?
Okay.
Which we don't know exactly what the nature of their reaching out is, but it sounds to you like it's probably to
It says,
potentially be available.
yeah, how Landmark College campus might be used to
Oh,
supplement
great.
or support
Okay.
the needs of Putney residents.
Great.
So,
No, and I think that, one of the key things for all of us to remember in situations like that is check on people that you might know of that need to be checked on. Because,
Right.
I don't know about everybody else, but there were a few days there where it was pretty darn uncomfortable. And if you're
yeah.
old and not able to, or,
Elderly, pregnant,
exactly,
you
a
know,
number of different
yeah.
things.
Health concerns.
Mom's AC went in first.
There you
yeah.
go. Yeah.
So Tom's gonna run with that and update me. As you notice, front steps of the town hall are taped off. They need to be repaired. I have Paul Bemis, I put a phone call into him to take a look at them
Mhm.
or recommend somebody that might be able to repair them. Right now, they're a liability.
Those are just concrete, aren't they?
Yeah,
I can't remember. You're
Yes.
talking about, I didn't notice.
Mhm.
Which ones are?
both.
Oh, the ones
sides.
going straight out?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So
Yeah,
someone
no,
came
I-
in and said, you really should clean that up, somebody's gonna slip and fall.
Yeah.
So they're in bad shape, so we just taped them off.
But the ramp is still.
The ramp
open.
is fine.
And the two side stairways are
Yes.
still open as well.
Well, this one over here is getting a little
Yeah, no, I know, but they're,
face, but
yeah. No, that whole front thing has been a topic of discussion every few years. We've done repairs on it
Mhm.
a handful of times, but it's one of those things that in order to do it right, it's a
Right.
pretty significant, actually, that might be an interesting place for the Historical Society to get
Mhm.
grant money for access there. That would be a
Now
possibility.
you're thinking. Keith and family will have a funeral procession on August 10th at the cemetery on Old Depot Road at 12 o'clock. There's going to be people from the American Legion and there's going to be a good-sized gathering over there. They will be firing off guns. So I just want people to be aware, if you hear gunshots on Old Depot Road, it's for this funeral. But we're gonna note
Is it a military salute?
yes, yep, there, he was in the, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Caithan and Private William Duvall. Both served in the Revolutionary War. So, there's a headstone too that's being replaced. So, a family reunion, they're all coming up.
Cool.
So, yeah. Jonathan, I requested that he notify the neighbors around that area
Yeah.
that this is gonna happen. So nobody panics
That
when they
was really
hear
smart.
gunshots.
Yeah.
Yellow Barn. I don't wanna talk too much about this, but, the 50th anniversary this year. August 3rd is, apparently their last performance for the season. So, if one of the select boards would like to be there on Saturday night,
It's beautiful.
arrival time at 7:30, we start at 8 o'clock.
I am not available
I
tonight.
have a family, my mom's family reunion Saturday up north, so I'm not gonna be here.
It said I would do it, and I thought Josh should get first dibs on it, so.
My mom's in town and we're
I'm
going
happy to do it.
performance.
So it's August 3rd at 7:30?
If you could
This
be there at
Saturday.
7:30,
Okay.
yes.
Josh, do you want me to read a statement from the select board? Is there something that you would like to say?
I think you could, I think you
You
could,
think I can wing it?
yeah.
Okay. This is beautiful. This is very thoughtful of you, Karen.
Someone recommended that we write a letter.
Yeah.
So if you want to go ahead and draft that, Laura.
With that great big bandwidth that I have. Okay.
I don't mind.
I will. I'll draft a letter and I'll send it to you and then you can
Sure.
revise it and
Yeah.
we can tag team it.
So,
All right.
but if you can present that, that'd be great.
Okay.
One other item.
That's really pretty.
So I requested Alyssa to send flowers to the town of Woodstock for Phil Swanson.
Oh,
He was the town manager for 34 years. He was 67 years old and he passed away. He was the longest serving town manager in Vermont.
Wow.
And he was known for his ability to solve problems, bring grants home, and avoid becoming ensnared in local politics.
good mentor.
I know, and you know, I recall him being at a workshop, but I never really met him personally.
Yeah,
So we did send flowers on behalf of the town of Putney Select Board
Good.
and this office.
thank you.
So-
Good job.
And that is all I have.
All right. Warrants.
Oh, I move that we execute and oh, I can't do this.
Of course you can.
As,
Judge, jury, and executioner.
yeah, I know, I'm like, I can't.
Approve and execute.
Approve and execute the minutes as
The-
presented
the
upon
warrants,
review.
actually.
Thank you. The warrants. As-
We already executed the warrants. Put them aside for 2 minutes.
As presented upon
A review. Thank
There
you.
we go.
Thank you. Oh, was that,
Perfect.
Do you want to?
Second.
you gotta
There we
see.
go.
Wait, I thought you were,
I was done, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
What she said is moved.
Thing I've learned in
He
most of being here
seconded.
is just learn to listen. Learn to listen.
It's been moved and seconded to approve and execute the minutes as presented. All those in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, payroll warrant, July 26, 2019, in the amount of $11,184.79. I think, yeah, library's on that one. Payroll warrant dated August 2nd, 2019, in the amount of $11,649.51. This includes the rec department and on-call fire personnel.
Actually, should have been paid on the one before it.
Hmm?
So then they should have been paid on the one before it, the rec and the fire.
No harm.
So this represents the last reassessment, hence the jump. That's why the line's there.
0506.
Yeah.
No, well, we did a reassessment in 2014 too. So that would have.
Because that's almost unchanged, and that's a double. See what I'm saying? That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, no, we did one in 06, so you're right.
You mean
Sounds
with
big.
the
If we-
taxes
but-
and stuff?
Yeah. on the first page.
No, go
Yeah.
to,
Well, I was wondering.
Speech
it's like,
information.
just-
But you see that this, this increase stays relatively
That's
stable. So that's what the CLA does,
Got it.
is even if this is even if this is off by that much,
Change
it
the job
adjusts so that,
description, right.
exactly.
Common, so this was again?
Common level of assessment or appraisal.
Accounts payable dated August 2nd,
Did that again.
2019.
Didn't add the
Right.
last date.
$154,699.31. In here, we have Zaluzny excavating for $75,531.50. And we have a payment here. Is it the backhoe? $37,633.80. It's either the backhoe or the grader. It's the grader, right? The grader. So, and I think when I looked, we were gonna have 3 pieces of equipment, or 3 loans paid off this year. That's good.
Yeah, it is. Let's hope they keep working.
Yep. So as far as the Luzny's reimbursement, we'll get 80% of that when I send it in.
That's taxpayer Elizabeth Roach.
That is an overpayment on taxes, so when their homestead exemption came in, they got more than what their taxes were. So there's like 3 of those on there.
We probably shouldn't say their names.
Sorry.
It's public information.
Yeah, it is public information, but.
The
No,
tax credit isn't.
not.
Tax credit isn't?
No, homestead exemption is now.
Well,
This
once
is-
it's
this
in
is a
here,
public
this is
document.
public information, yeah.
Once it's there, I guess.
Yeah. But I won't say the rest of them.
Allen Engineering, what's that?
Cool.
What? Pool?
Yeah, chemicals. Next meeting? Yeah.
I'm just thinking that. That community bank was the fire engine.
Oh, that's right, yeah, engine number 1.
Do you want me to take this with me?
Yeah.
What's next?
That's the solar. That's our solar bill that we get every month.
Huh.
So we pay Next Sun for credits that we generate. Yeah,
What?
yeah.
You should sit down and talk to us sometime about trying to figure that out.
What?
So our Green Mountain power bills are reduced for certain buildings because of the solar credits that we generate.
Okay.
So,
So then why do we have? to
This is
pay
it's
for that?
essentially a lease agreement.
Ah,
yeah,
It's a power,
contract.
it's a power purchase agreement.
Right, a 20-year agreement.
So we pay them X amount, and then the assumption is that we come out way ahead by having the credits.
And I had,
to-
yeah, I had had Morgan Casella check to make sure we were getting our 10%. And we are,
yeah,
but, you know, we had a credit of $2,800 this month,
right.
but we're still paying
Like
next.
3,900.
But that's only an annual payment to them, correct?
No, it's a monthly payment.
So why are we paying $1,100 more for saving 10%?
That's a monthly payment for next summer. Every month.
Not that amount. It's dependent on how much is produced.
So in the wintertime, if they're lower,
Right.
because we have those
Right.
credits available.
Right.
And so in the summertime, when we're generating all of those credits,
Oh,
we're
okay.
not
But-
using them.
Right. But we're not paying, we used to pay that money, essentially we used to pay that money to Green Mountain Power.
Correct.
And we're no longer paying, right. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's an offset.
But our Green Mountain Power bills are, it doesn't offset it 100% or
No.
50%.
50% it doesn't?
No, no.
I can't remember what we thought it was gonna do. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'll have to sit down
Our
and figure
Green
this out,
Mountain
because I
Power
cannot
bills.
wrap my head around
Our
this
Green
yet.
Mountain power bills were like hardly anything this month for the power generated, and we just paid next on $3,900.
But we would have, I mean,
But we would have paid thousands something.
exactly, in the dead of winter, we paid Green Mountain Power
More money.
a bunch of money.
Right.
Yeah, So,
So that's where.
But we
credits
still
come in
pay
handy.
next time, like, we're just totally baffled by how it's a good idea.
But
I'd have to
well,
see it
we
all,
should,
you know,
we should find
spreadsheet.
out, because we may have the ability, I mean, if Morgan looked at it, he should understand that type of agreement. I mean, you know, but we may have the ability to renegotiate it if we,
yeah, no. When Chip was here, he was looking at that too.
and we don't have the ability, even.
Sometimes you
it's
can
typically
move-
in 7 and 14-year increments for renegotiation on those, so we should keep that in mind.
Well, 7 years will be coming up because
That's what
that
I'm
just
saying.
happened, that contract, like 2 years before I got here, so.
It's a little bit more than that, probably.
It's
but,
fairly new.
It was when Cynthia was town manager, definitely. So we should look at that, because I
So maybe
think they
5
can,
years
they
ago,
might be.
yeah.
don't
I
know.
think we're coming up
We
with
should
a
talk-
7,
we
if you
should talk
think
to
it's
Morgan.
7 year.
I may be wrong. Many of them are renegotiable
Mm-hmm.
renegotiable at 7-year increments, so.
Yeah, because if we can add like the library, because they're not on it. So the wastewater treatment plant, fire station, I think we're on that
We
too.
have town hall, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, streetlights are not, something else is not too.
Right. Not all the public buildings are on
Right.
the
I don't
contract.
remember whether it's apartments or not.
The spreadsheet might be in that.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
there-
maybe we should review, maybe we could ask Morgan or next son or somebody to come and review it for us.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work with Nexon
Yeah,
through Morgan.
yeah,
So
okay.
he confirmed it's accurate.
Appropriate,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
So-
we should just explore whether it's renegotiable.
Right.
In the interest of being correct on the dates of the warrant, the numbers are the same, but the dates are different, do you want to have it be the right one? Just have them
Yes,
re-sign it?
yeah, because it should be 2 different dates.
Right,
not
it's the
one.
dates of 7/27/2019 to August 2nd. So it's
Yes.
covering the whole
Right,
2 weeks in between, right?
yes.
But it's the
Not-
same, this is the same, it's the same amount. it's
Right.
Right.
Or it still didn't do it right. So that's it.
You need to go home.
Let me
Okay.
try again while you're talking.
So, other business, town highway department operator advertisement.
Yeah, we did have other business then. So an ad is out in the paper, or was out in the paper, we only ran it one day. Applications for entry-level highway operator are due August 16th in this office. Applications and a job description are available on our town website at putneyvt, like Vermont.org. So we've had one application come through so far.
When did you put it out? Roughly a week ago?
It went in Saturday's weekend edition. So, and I know word is out there.
Yeah.
Do we ever consider using anything like Indeed to?
No. I mean, we could, but I just, I wouldn't do it.
Financial audit.
Is scheduled for August 6th, 7th, and 8th, which Alyssa and I have a 2-page laundry list, so we will be working on that
Okay.
tomorrow or Friday. But,
And we need an executive session? Yes.
yes, we do.
Okay.
So a decision will be made, M?
Jan?
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 You just did
See,
it
I did the
together
same thing. Sorry, Jan. So a decision will be made.
That doesn't happen often, does it?
I'm sorry. I think it'll be quick.
But you don't need to stay if you don't choose, you'll stay. Okay. All right, and just, well, yeah, okay, so motion to enter executive session.
Oh, you need here.
Thank you. Enter executive session under Title I, Section 313A2 to discuss the negotiating or securing of real estate purchase or lease options.
Second?
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to enter executive session, and we will inform you when we're done.
Karen, that actually is
all-
more.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Because what sparked my memory was not only the date thing, but was the highway grader, because you brought up the grader, and I thought, oh yeah, remember how it wasn't in the last warrant?
Right.
So by not going back to the last check date, we didn't
Oh.
capture that, so it is different. It is a different amount than what was said.
154,000, so.
Right, and it's, when we look up, it's
Well,
33,000 more.
Thank you. Okay, so we have exited executive session at 8:05, and I would entertain a motion to approve both the memorandum of understanding for the town of Dummerston and Putney and the interlocal agreement between the town of Dummerston and Putney. Both of these are documents related to the the working relationship between Putney and Dummerston for use of the gravel pit that we are purchasing.
So moved.
And I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve both the memorandum of understanding and the interlocal agreement between the towns of Putney and Dummerston. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, and so we will sign those, and our intention is to sign all of the ones on the Putney document, and then as we have the opportunity to also, Dummerston is going through the same process tonight, so we will have two documents that each have parallel signatures, and we will switch and sign all of them again, so we have two completed documents with all the signatures on them. Let's see, so that goes with that.
That's another check.
Yeah. I know, that's that too.
I know.
People are taking over the world.
We are.
Okay.
Johnny Appleseed.
And I think, unless we have anything else, Karen, our next meeting date is August 14th, which, as I said, I will not be present for. And otherwise, I also want to just say thank you to Karen for all of what she has put into all of this, and it has been complicated, interesting, important, and I'm grateful that she has been as thorough and dedicated as she has to this project, because it's a good project. So
You're
thank you.
welcome.
I second that.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
All right, and motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thank you.